What's up, world? This is Jabari Long with another episode of The Long Report. Really excited for today's show. I have my longtime friend, fellow real estate colleague, Mr. Jonathan Wheaton in the building. What's happening, Jonathan?
What's going on, bro? How you been?
Oh, man, fantastic. Life is good.
Life
How
is
about
good.
you, man?
Life is always good, man. It is a good thing. All good things happening here in Detroit.
That's what's up, man. So, we was talking earlier before the show. I started an educational series for our clients to really be more informative, right? A lot of things that people put out are real salesy, real promotional, and we just really want to educate. There's a lot of miseducation out here about real estate, more specifically the Metro Detroit market. So we started an educational series, and this show is based off Volume 5, which is titled, Why Metro Detroit? Jonathan, tell us a little bit about your background, your history. I know you've been investing in real estate for a while. Let's talk about some of that.
Okay, yep. I'm a licensed real estate broker. I've been licensed for 20 years in real estate. Since 2006 is when I got my real estate license. I got my broker license, I think, in 2012. Okay. So I'm a licensed real estate broker, but I also invest in real estate. My real passion in real estate is the investment aspect. I like to invest myself and represent clients who are investors. So that's my real space and my real passion in the real estate market.
Right. Yeah. And so is mine, right? You know, we probably started out representing clients who are looking for the feng shui when they walk in the house. And they want to be able to get to their kitchen without going through the living room, right?
For sure.
And then we are introduced to investors who are just looking at the properties from an income standpoint, an appreciation standpoint. And that business tends to be a little bit easier to navigate because they're not thinking about the wall color, right?
Definitely. And I think it depends on the type of person you are, too, because, everyone can't deal with the harshness or the brashness of investors. That's the thing when it comes to the numbers. It's a lot of no nonsense with the numbers. And them guys not really into that. Like you said, they could care less if the seam splits the room down the middle of the carpet and all of that, right? But feng shui, they're looking more of what do these numbers add up to. And you got to kind of perform in that space more than kind of the light, fluffier stuff, which you may do with a traditional buyer or a traditional seller, where you got a lot more feelings and emotions involved in the sale. We kind of reserve that for the end of the process when the buyers are coming through. But when you're on the front end, when you're dealing with those investors, you got to be willing to deal, with a little harsher client.
Great point. Because each investor has a different investment criteria, acquisition criteria.
Yes,
and depending on how experienced they are, they might have it well-defined or it may be very loosey-goosey, right?
Good. Correct.
So part of our job is educating them, getting them to hone in. That way we're not looking at properties in Flint and Monroe at the same time to meet the same type of need.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's right there too. That's part of our position when we pair with an investor, is to be able to kind of get that direction and alignment when they come and invest in the city. They have so many ways to make money and so many things you could do. And like you alluded to earlier, on the internet, social media, you can make money doing this, doing that, and it all works, right? If you work it, it'll work. I think our main focus is to get the investor in alignment with a strategy here in the city that's going to be profitable in their appetite. So if they're in looking for flips, and they're kind of got a crew that's set up with that. They got a strength in roofing. They got a strength in concrete. They have those kind of things, and we can kind of get them aligned with the right process, the right people, the right house that's going to make sense. And I think that's the main thing people miss is alignment when they come here and they want to invest. Like you said, if you invest in Monroe and in Flint, well, that's not going to be advantageous to your crew, to us working it, to being to the comps that we trying to push and get the numbers. So alignment is what I think is what the big thing is, what we bring it to the table when we partner with these investors.
Okay. So why Metro Detroit? A lot of investors reach out to us, but if you're at a Panera Bread or at Starbucks just having a general conversation, talking to someone who lives outside the city, how would you sell Metro Detroit as where they need to be investing? Or let's talk about Detroit proper. How would you sell it?
So I love Detroit. I could talk all day about Detroit. As two things you're asking me here. One side is what I would tell to the investors. The side I would start with first is what I would tell to the homeowners and the people who are our end clients at the end of the day. The tenants, the people that's buying the houses, the people that's living in the properties. Detroit is one of the best places in the world to live. You may hear what you want to say about Detroit. Detroit is one of the best places. I mean, you literally are a place surrounded by some of the most beautiful waterways in the world. foreign country, 15 minutes away, hop into Canada. We have the Ambassador Bridge and the new bridge getting built. 25% of the country's imports come through, or they did previous to this, came through the Ambassador Bridge. The cost of living, I can just these are things that people strive for in these other communities, to be close to water, be able to own a brick home without having to lose a leg, being able to, being able to have some of these things in these cities that are unimaginable in other places. I'll tell you a story. My brother lives in Sherwood Forest, and his neighbor was Airbnb in a house over there, and the two gentlemen were there. One man was from Toronto, and another gentleman was from China. And they're in this house in Sherwood Forest, probably 4,200 square feet. So we get to talking, really nice gentlemen. They work for Honda. They're doing some work here for a short period of time. And we were just talking about the real estate here. And we said, what would this house cost in Toronto? And he said, $10-15 million. $10-15 million to the same house. And he was just blown away by how much lifestyle you get here for the cost of living. And I think it's unrivaled anywhere in the country.
Yeah, price per square foot. You definitely got a significant advantage here. Even, in places nationally, right, like Georgia and other places, like you're definitely winning here. Things are very much affordable in Metro Detroit.
Yeah, definitely. And especially in the time we got affordability crisis all over the country, this is a place where you can come, hunker down, and really raise a family and get financially stable. I want to say one other thing, which is another huge advantage of Detroit right now. A lot of people are starting to take advantage of. My son goes to Lawrence Tech. Lawrence Tech costs $44,000 a year. We're just talking about this, right? And he was able to earn a scholarship to the Detroit Promise, as well as my niece, as well as my nephew. All of my whole family's benefited from the program of the Detroit Promise. So when you look at, a place to really come and settle down, raise your family, send your kids to college for free. My nephew's in med school now because of the Detroit Promise. I think that's one of the things that's unrivaled, in combination with everything else we said, anywhere in the world. I just think people just need to know really all the things Detroit has to offer.
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. When you look at the cost of college right now and, how people are going into this exorbitant amount of student loan debt, just that difference alone could put $200,000 to $500,000 towards your net worth that you didn't have to spend, being able to send. And that's just one kid. Now, if you got more, you got a family of four, that could be $2 million that you actually add to your net worth by not having to spend that on college. So definitely a game changer. We got to learn how to utilize these things as a financial tool, because all the doom and gloom that's being shown on the news, that's being shown that way for a purpose, right? Yeah. To make people very fearful. And what we see, being investors and dealing with a lot of national and international clients, the people outside of Detroit or outside of Michigan, they're not scared at all.
They're not scared at all. No, you're right. They take advantage of it. It's one of the last slips we did. A gentleman relocated from Florida, and him and his wife, beautiful family, 5-year-old little girl, relocated near Rosedale Park. So these are going to be people that's coming here understanding the value where he had lived in New York, Baltimore, and Florida previously. And he's able to come here, buy a home, actually provide different levels of stability to his family that, it's difficult in other places. So I just think that, people outside of the city, outside of it, are very familiar, and they are intrigued by what the city's got to offer.
Yeah. And when we travel, we always, people, where you from, and people are always asking about the real estate market. I hear, can you really buy properties for, what you would spend on a car there? Because it's, we made national news ever since the bankruptcy, right? Where we're the nation's comeback city.
Yes, we are.
And people are betting long on Detroit.
As they should.
We're just kind of, hurt and disappointed in a lot of ways that it's not all Detroiters who are betting long. Like, you got people out here, we go to a house and the neighbor come out and, what y'all gonna do with that house? And we'll say, why don't you buy it?
Every time.
I ain't gonna buy that house. I ain't gonna do this and do that. And then, an international investor comes in and buys it and put it back on the market And then that same homeowner is complaining about how many properties are owned by people that aren't from
Yeah.
Detroit.
Yeah, definitely. That's a dilemma. One thing I would say to that is that a lot of Detroiters are doing. I know some we missing, a lot of people are, but two things that a lot of Detroiters are. I'm dealing with a lot of people buying their first home, buying their first investment property. I'm dealing with a young man, 19 right now, really impressive buying his first 2-family flat, at 19. So people are, and I think that what I found when we went to people and said, hey, why don't you buy it? Because I had the exact same conversations. Hey, buy this house. Instead of me selling it to someone out of the country, I can sell it to you for $5,000, $10,000, right? I think though, but we lack an education on what that turnaround looks like. So the person is there, they understand that it's something there. They understand that there's some potential there, but they really don't have the financial education, the real estate, and the construction education to really know how to turn that around. So I think that we got to give a little grace in that point to some of the people because they want to. Detroiters, they want to have a piece in this come back in the city, but it's just an education piece that's a gap there on what that actually looks like. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, but maybe fortunately and unfortunately, that people outside of Detroit and outside of Michigan have that financial education, and they are attacking this space aggressively because they see the potential in it. So I think it's a thing that programs like this are going to be excellent to create education. And then from that, people can dig a little further on how does the construction cost look, and how do I manage those, and how do I, what does the ARV mean, and how do I get out of these properties and actually understand what that turnaround looks like, as opposed to just seeing it too late, like, oh yeah, now the property's out of my range. I can't afford to live in it now, that kind of
5 years ago, it was this
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
And now it's unaffordable.
Yeah. So.
And so you make a great point. We talk about education and just information and really integrating that information into our daily lives.
Yeah.
And with educational, we this is called our educational series. It's morphing into a wealth building series, right? Because if you have the information, the education, that you can generate and create and preserve more wealth for yourself and your families. And ultimately, I think that's what people want to do. They just need the tools to be able to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
So when we talk about Metro Detroit has the dynamics as far as the values versus the rental amounts that you can charge to make for profitable or positive cash flow. If you're in places like California especially, right, property values are so high. When you rent the properties, you end up having negative cash flow. Correct. Because the properties are just, they're too expensive. So people are always looking for areas and markets where they can buy and have positive cash flow. Typically, it's like a 1-to-1 ratio or 1.5-to-1 ratio where you can get more out the property in rent than what you're paying out in debt service. So Detroit has tons of those opportunities, and we happen to be a city that's at least 50 to 60% rental, right? There are more people that want to rent inside the city right now than there are homeowners, so it's a great opportunity for your landlords.
Yeah, definitely. You talk about that 1.5%. A lot of my investors, they even go a little bit further with it. We have like a 2% rule, right? Where we just find properties that's going to, yield them 2% rent of what they're into for the property for. They're going to be able to get that monthly, right?
So explain that just in real numbers.
Okay, so let's just say we get a property for, $50,000. Then they put $50,000 into it, right? They enter that property for $100,000. We try to rent that property for $2,000 a month, to at least $2,000 a month gross, to accommodate the 2% rule. So that way they will be able to, pay their taxes, pay the insurance, and still see a big profit realized. On $100,000 right now, you probably pay about $700 a month. We rent that for about $2,000, right around there. After you pay your taxes and insurance, you'll be clearing somewhere close to $800-900 a month, maybe $1,000 a month.
That's great cash flow.
Great cash flow. A good 90-day, 120-day turnaround for people, and they're able to kind of, execute a plan that's going to be rinse and repeat, repeatable. So that 2% rule is all over Detroit, and that's one of the things people fight for in these other places, in Georgia and We've done Indianapolis, Chicago, some of these other places where we're looking at. They're fighting for this 2% left and right, and we have it, laid out for them. So the opportunities here, if you bring the education and the stomach for investing here, and deal with everything that comes along with it, which we'll get into. But if you bring that here, then it's unrivaled, unmatched potential here.
And I think, people, they forget investing, right? That it is a level of risk associated with any type of investment, right? Any type of investment. And no past performance does not indicate future results, right?
Absolutely.
So just because it's happened with one deal doesn't mean you're going to, be able to get those same results out of every single deal.
Yeah.
And understanding that, like, what we're talking about is high growth, right? High returns on investment versus somebody saying, well, you know what, I'm adverse to any risk. I'm going to just put my money in a CD or a high yield savings account or a T-bill, right? Those are averaging about 4%.
Yeah.
Inflation in my book is about 6%. So
at least
if you're utilizing those vehicles, you're losing money every single month by thinking that you're safe in these secured investments. So we gotta expose ourselves in some capacity to higher levels of risk to even be able to keep up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that the being able to understand the risk and where you fall in that risk, people are too safe, I think. And, that may be unpopular or whatever, because we've kind of been trained as society to not take the risk, take the safe rate out, just always play that side of the coin. And 92% of people play that side of the coin. And 92% of people are check to check, and they don't have the financial stability and the financial lifestyle they're looking for because they playing it too safe. Where, you have to take some calculated risk, nothing that's goofy, but calculated risk in your community, things that you see when you ride by a property, you see it sitting down there, buy the property, raise your own property value up. One of the things I did in a flip we did in 2003, we had this great flip, 2024 rather, and we had this amazing flip, and the neighbors were looking out for the property, people were, looking out everything, and we realized, the neighbors realized that we brought $100,000, we made $100,000 on the property, but we brought $100,000 to everybody on the block, all the neighbors.
Rising tides raises all ships.
All ships. So understanding that those different dynamics as far as when you invest and when to take a risk and say, hey, you know what? This is a house this guy got for $40,000 next door to me. We sold for $255,000. It sat there for a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Buy that house. And it is a financial education that comes that's missing. You may not know how to buy that house. Call Jabari. He'll tell you how to buy that house. Yeah. Call myself. There's plenty of people who will show you how to make that process palatable so you can be profitable. And I think that's where a lot of us are missing that connect, when it comes to taking risk.
Yeah, part of being educated is understanding what areas you're short of knowledge in. Yes. And so you got to align yourself with individuals, professionals that really understand the market, that bring value to your deal, which in turn really, minimizes your risk. Mm-hmm. Because I got 20 years of experience, you got 20 years of experience. Like, we understand the market, and we can do this business with our eyes closed.
Correct.
Like every aspect, from acquisitions to renovations to leasing, like we understand it all. So you might be a doctor, you might be an attorney, or somebody who really doesn't have time to get 20 years of experience. Correct. So that means you got to align yourself with people who have it, so that that your journey will be much more it'll be less rocky, right?
Less lumps in your head. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Y'all might can't see the lumps that I hear, what I'm saying, but they there.
We done took something together, for sure. We done took one or two together, so I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And, there's when I talk to people about investing now, right, we're not talking about real estate investing. Our avenue and our expertise and core competency happens to be in real estate. But we're just talking about investments in general, right?
Yes.
Because people are looking to place capital to get a higher rate of return and maybe get some other benefits, right? Like cash flow, some tax benefits, which oftentimes are not available in some of these other investments.
Correct.
And this is the benefits of investing in real estate. So if you have capital that you're looking to deployed that is underperforming, say it's in one of those savings accounts or high yield money market accounts, we're offering avenues for alternatives, right?
Yes.
Alternative
Yeah.
investments, right?
Yeah.
Because we want our clients to stack us up against their financial advisor and
Correct.
stockbroker. What
Anytime.
did this guy do for you last year? What was your year-over-year performance?
For sure.
And allow you to park some money with us so that we can compete for the rest of your investment dollars.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, it's about how much does that investment yield you and your family. You know, how much money did your move make? When you a man or a woman and you saying, hey, I'm making this move for my family so we can have passive income, so we can pay some bills while I'm having a nap, while I'm sleeping, and then get some bills paid. What's the best way to make that happen? You know, and if it's at 4%, in somebody's bank where, you know, you're not making a lot of money, or, you know, you got to take a risk and you got some ups and downs, but you can make 20%, or you can even, you know, double your money in some cases annually if you do certain type of deals. I just think it's just a mentality to kind of get over kind of some of the things we've been taught as far as to be scared and to get over that.
Yeah.
Programmed, right? We've been programmed, and to reprogram ourselves and our kids to be able to say, hey, there's nothing scary going on here. This is just everyday business, blocking and tackling. Nothing scary is going on here. And I think when we kind of get more people in that, then we can kind of, you know, grow in that area.
Yeah. And it's happening. This alternative investment space is growing now. Like the institutional investors, they're putting money in these alternative assets. Private equity is putting money in alternative assets because the stock market is still a viable tool, but it's more than one way to skin a cat.
It is.
And I think like I was talking to a gentleman the other day about doing private mortgages. He sold a piece of property, he's got a few $100,000, and he didn't know that he can loan investors money using his own private capital and get a above market rate of return securitized by the property that you or I might buy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to do any work. He doesn't have to deal with the tenants and toilets or the contractors. You know, he just sit back and collect.
Yeah, you know, that's actually a good place for the investor, especially some of the high-earning investors. If you're a high-income earner, like you said, a doctor, you make over $300,000 a year, you need a place to put capital. You need it. So that's a good place for people to put in that don't have the propensity for the risk and then for all the ups and downs, who could take a normal return or even above market return, but not have to deal with the headaches of the phone calls and all of that, and allow the investor who's doing that to get into the minutia of all of the investment X's and O's. So that's a good place that high earners really should come in. They can really do well in and say, hey, here's a couple $100,000. See you next year, and you know, give me 15% of my money or 10%. You know, and it's investors who will sign up because they have the expertise and the education to utilize that money to make it make sense.
Yeah, it's securitized by the real estate, and you're getting 3 times minimum more growth than you would in these other vehicles. So, you know,
every time,
making sure that consumer, that lay person who's only had the stock investment experience, understands that there are other options, there are other alternatives for you to get more growth. Because bottom line, if you're 50, you want to retire, but you know you don't have enough, you can't keep doing the same old things, getting those same old sloppy returns, because you know time is not on your side at that point.
It's gonna catch up with you. Yeah, and I think that's what ends up happening, where a lot of us are kind of into that point. You know, I'm 45 now. I'll be 46 this year, and we kind of at the point where now you got to make these decisions. We've lived long enough to see what happens when you don't make these decisions, right? I'm 46 years. I've been probably an adult since 18, so 28 years or something. I've been an adult, right? That's my math, close to it. So I've seen people invest slow and steady, buy passive income, about one house a year, you know, and now they got 40, 50, 60 houses. I've seen people chase the fast money, and now they broke. I've seen people, high earning people, who make $150,000, $250,000 and not buy passive income. Then the climate of their work environment changes, where they're not as desirable. Where now they were making $135,000 and now they're making $75,000, and now they're not in a position to take advantage of these things as inflation's rising, as the houses are rising. So I think it's about really just not being scared and understanding when you are in a position, you got to be taking a chance at it. One thing I'm gonna add to it about the risk thing too. When we look at these risks and compare it to other vessels and your other risk, right? Even when real estate in Detroit goes ugly, people are doing all of the worst stuff. You going at it. We've been 12 years, maybe 13 years now, nothing but growth, straight
appreciation.
up.
Yeah.
Every investor with your headache, all of the stuff, 9 out of 10 of them still made money, and they did very well. And it's a whole gulag of them who made enough money they don't even know what to do with themselves. Yep. So that's the thing that you got to look at, that they're not making no more land. They're not, I don't think they figured that out yet. They're not building any more, cities. This is the place where you're going to actually be able to get a piece and stake your flag on something that's been time tested and proven.
And you talk about dollar cost averaging, right? They always talk about when the stocks are cheap, they're on sale, so you go shopping. And Detroit is less on sale now than it was last year, right? Because prices will continue to rise. But from a national perspective, it's still a great place to buy and be able to cash flow.
It's the best place.
And you talk about like replacement value, like price versus replacement value. We look at what we can buy and renovate for versus when we insure the property at replacement costs. Those values are like I bought a house for $18,000. I probably put about $50,000 into it and got $190,000 replacement cost insurance policy. Mm-hmm. So and just for the people that just don't understand the math, it really goes to show you what they're saying, that this house could be totally rebuilt for $190,000. That's what the insurance company, the most conservative people on earth, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They're saying $190,000, and I got $70,000, $80,000 into the deal. So when you can provide your portfolio this type of numbers, this type of equity value, it's just a game changer.
The last 3 flips we did, I just give you the numbers: the purchase price and the sale price. We purchased for $40,000. One of them we did $40,000, sold for $255,000. The other $20,000, sold for $242,000. The other Metatalk was $70,000, sold for $205,000. So the numbers are phenomenal. You can't. We're not making it up. You can't compete with these kind of returns, in the city. These are actual numbers, actual returns. So when you compare this, even when deals go up and down, you spend a little bit more, things happen, the return is going to far outseed really any place I've seen. Any place I've seen. I don't know another place, and you guys have to show me. I don't know another place better to invest in Detroit. Not in the world. And you have to show me a place.
And neither do I. We've definitely been around, invested in other areas. Mm-hmm. Now I will say we're maybe somewhat biased because we're from here. We're lifelong Detroiters. But the numbers, and this is no emotion.
That's it.
People say how the math be mathing or how the math don't be mathing. Everything pencils in Detroit.
Everything,
right?
everything.
And then for you to get the highest yield, you just got to have good management, good oversight, good project management on your renovations.
Yes.
And understand that time is money, right? Mm-hmm. You close on a house, you're supposed to be there that day. You're supposed to have a crew there. As soon as you say, okay, the paperwork is signed, and don't waste any time, because time is money. And I think that's where most investors get in trouble, is that they add too much on the table and they can't get to it, and they end up losing because it just takes too long.
It takes too long. And one of the things, that's where the management comes in and expertise, because, us being from Detroit and having those relationships, you learn how to manage these guys, know, and the things that we transition to. It's funny you say that about the time. Is the time being the main thing when we evaluating contractors? The time, a lot of contractors or a lot of investors, we want to evaluate the cost of things and say, how much is this costing? We kind of want to work that when that's not really the thing to manage. You want to manage the cost, but you don't want the invest. You want to manage the time. The time will manage the cost. So if you manage the time and you get people who are going to finish on time and produce it, then the cost is going to make sense, because the cost is going to be controlled. So there might be another 25% higher, but you know what? You're going to get another 2 or 3 deals a year because you're dealing with people who are going to finish on time. So you got to, be able to, understand that time is the most important thing when you're dealing with these investments.
Yeah, I told somebody this the other day, that the cost of the money is not as important as the availability of it, right?
Yeah.
And so when we deal with our money lenders and people that we're partnering with in some capacity, everybody's looking at just turnaround time because it's all about the velocity of capital. How soon can I get my money back so I can redeploy it?
Yeah.
Same thing with these properties. How soon can we start and finish so that we can turn this one over and move on to the next one? So nobody just want to stay there stuck for months at a time because we're all losing money.
Yeah,
you know, at
yeah,
that time.
absolutely, everything. So, yeah, the time factor and getting that expertise in there early is huge.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I want to talk about the profit centers of real estate, right? People think tenants and toilets, and there are ways to mitigate from that, but you got the income, right, that the property brings. We focus on income-producing properties, so you got mortgage reduction. All right, the tenants are in the property. Tenants pay you rent, so in fact they're paying your mortgage. They're paying the mortgage down. We got appreciation, right? We only buy properties that have value add upside, meaning we're buying low, adding value, and realizing it, forcing that appreciation.
Yep.
So, and then the one that I think people don't pay attention to enough are the tax benefits.
There you go.
Right. Right now we have bonus depreciation, which is like when you look at how that math be math, it's just like, man, it's
a lot of
it's
advantages
almost
to
criminal.
that. It's a lot of advantages to that. You use it right, yeah, for sure.
And the standard depreciation, which has been around for years. So for those high income W-2 earners who just, I know they're looking at their checks like, oh man, I'm tired of paying Uncle Sammy all this money. This is a way to recapture all of that.
Yes, it is.
All of it.
It is.
So you make $500,000 a year on a W-2 and you pay $200,000 out. This is a way to recapture all of that with the purchase of maybe 2 houses a year. You get all your taxable income, what you paid in taxes back. 100%.
You know, when you talk about wealth, what I'm learning is wealth is avoiding taxes.
Bingo.
Wealth is avoiding
Bingo.
taxes. So we can, any kind of thing that we can do to avoid taxes, and real estate is the biggest tax shelter, one of the best ways to avoid taxes ever created. I think that, you know, here in the city, it's such an opportunity to build wealth right now through investment properties, through like the BRRRR strategy or through the flip strategy. BRRRR strategy, buy, renovate, rehab, rent, refinance, you know, going through those processes and kind of going through that BRRRR process. You know, you can create so much wealth here just by buying a property, you know, you and your homeboys getting in there, flipping it, you know, adding 60, 70,000 worth of value, you know, and rinse and repeat and redeploying that money like you alluded to. So I just think that that's just a thing that we got to get people more comfortable with in that space, because it's again, it's unrivaled, it's unmatched opportunities that you have here.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
And that BRRRR, that buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat process is a strategy that rehabbers use to end up holding on to the properties instead of selling them, right? So once you start doing a lot of flips, you're going to say to yourself, like, man, this is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Why not do the work once, keep the property, make rental income, and then just keep buying them and adding to your portfolio? So that methodology definitely works in Detroit. And, you know, Jonathan and I are participating. We got some other friends that are doing it.
Absolutely.
And it's undeniable. Like, you know, you got money now, money during, equity for later. The strategy just absolutely works. And we're not saying that it doesn't work in other areas and other markets. We're saying from a cash flow perspective and an equity perspective, you get a lot of bang for your buck in Metro Detroit.
It's designed for here. This is the place where it makes the most sense. And again, other places, people invest in other places. Somebody sent me something, man, I don't know, in South Beach or something. It was crazy. But they talk about 4% return on investment to buy some $600,000 property. Like that's just crazy. I challenge anybody. I'm challenging you right now, right here on the Log Report. I'm challenging you. Find me a better place to invest in the world than Detroit. Find me a better place, and I'll be on the plane. We go check it out, because I don't think it's a better place. The reason I'm sitting here, he could be where he want to be. I could be. This is where you want to be to invest in your money, because there's no better place in the world to invest here. The numbers, like you said, the numbers pencil, the upside, the cost of entry. everything is no better place to invest and realize your return than Detroit.
Talk to us about like the politics of the you know, the bureaucracy dealing with the city and city inspections, and just a lot of people are averse to that, right? You got dealing with the tenants is one piece, but then you also have just the municipality itself. So talk to us about working with the city of Detroit.
So I think the city of Detroit has a bad rap from years ago, right? When we used to first started this business, it was a little tougher dealing with the city. You would be down there, it wasn't as technically advanced. We would be down waiting for hours for basic city services downtown, right? I gotta say, in the last 15 years or so, that has not been the case. And the last couple years, I would say the last 4 years, the city services have been exemplary. And when I say they're on top of it, they're taking care of business. So that's one thing as far as the city of Detroit, as far as dealing with it. Moreover, I think that when people go into this business, they go into it alone. So they think that they can do all of these aspects of the investment alone. And that's just a poor strategy to go, because you need to know who I know at the city. You need my contact. You need me to go down there and shake somebody's hand who I know and get your inspection approved or get your permit approved or be able to move that process along right there. So I think that some of the frustration all stems from people seeing stuff on TV or seeing stuff on social media like, hey, I'm going to hop in this space, when not really understand that space comes with pairing with the right people, and it's multiple right people, the right realtor, the right loan guy, the right construction guy. You got the right insurance guy. You got to have the right people when you're pairing with it. And so many people go into this business alone that they're not really understanding finding the right team. So when they're up against these challenges, dealing with the city, an inspection or a tenant or whatever they're dealing with, they're completely blindsided and they get overwhelmed because you're trying to deal with everything with the city, as opposed to coming in, getting a good team and getting some teammates and dominating in a space where people already had that expertise. I think that's the difference, the frustration people feel when they're dealing with the city, and some of those misses or those misnomers that have traditionally have haunted us. They're not there as much anymore, and when you're dealing with the people who deal with them every day and deal with them on a regular, you're going to have a far better and different experience.
Yeah, relationships are everything, right? People
Yeah.
say, well, why would I pay this person when I could do it myself? Because when you're doing means of commerce, right, you're also developing relationships.
Yeah.
That's why when you go to the gas station, or the people end up starting to know your name, and
Yes,
then they start
yeah.
to ask about your children, because you're not just spending money. We're not just, investing in somebody else's building. We're also investing in that relationship.
Correct.
And if I can invest in a relationship that's going to make it more efficient of my time, I'm going to have less headaches associated with the process, and ain't going to bump my head as much, then to me it's worth it.
Yeah.
We underwrite those into the deal.
Yes,
right?
yes.
We underwrite it into the deal.
And, the same 19-year-old kid I was talking about, by a young man who's buying a two-family flat, right? 19, same age as my son. This house he's getting, I'll tell you about how much representation matters and why it's important. Great deal. He lives next door to these guys. House came on the market. We can't get access to the house. I called a realtor. It's squatters in there. Somebody passed. The kids are not happy. Grandma is selling the house. They won't leave. They can't show the house. He wants to buy the house. How do we buy it, right? So I called a realtor. She says, I can't get you in there. Me, being who I am, I'm able to go over, knock on the door, right? Hey, what's going on, man? Listen, we looking to buy your house. We need to walk through it. I'm about to buy you dinner, bro. I'm about to go ahead and buy you dinner. Go ahead and what y'all want? What's your cash app? I'm gonna send you a couple dollars so you can walk through this house. My man need to buy this house. Well, I don't know if he's selling it. We got this. We got some dealers. This, that. I said, okay, whatever y'all got, we just need to walk through it real quick. I'm gonna send you some lunch money. We're going to walk through the house so he can check it out. Same thing with the appraiser, same thing with the inspection, right?
Yep.
It's going to cost me $75 total. 3 trips, $25, maybe $100, right? But this young man's in the house where other realtors couldn't get him in the house.
Yep.
People who didn't have the expertise in dealing with it, when they hear squatters, Oh my God, they completely have no memory on how to deal with it, no experience on how to deal with that, right?
Not realizing squads are just people, right?
They're just people.
Yeah.
And you got to have people skills. You go in there and talk to them and just find out what these people need. They're what they want. They're in a place, they probably need a place to live. They probably don't know what's going on. They probably feel a certain way about, everything that's going on. So you have to go in there and kind of come up with a plan for those people. So part of that plan of us getting in there is making sure that he got some money when we leave and say, hey, when we buy this house, we're going to make sure that you get some cash for keys, man, to make sure that you got to be able to go on to the next place. So, but having that expertise was able to get this young man a fantastic deal. Mind you, we got about 30% off of the asking price as well because of the sales.
Yeah, because could nobody else get in it.
Nobody else could get in it, right?
Right?
So we got a major discount because you're dealing with the right person. Right. So that team that you get is just essential to being successful in this investment space.
And let's talk about this 19-year-old guy. I don't know him, but he's buying a 2-family, so that's an income-producing property.
Yep.
Maybe he's going to live in one, maybe he's going to rent the other. But tell me how his life looks in 10 years, starting off with him buying property.
That's exactly the plan. Yeah, I will. So this is his plan. Really sharp young man. Christopher, where you out there? What's up, Christopher? I see you, man.
What's up, Christopher?
He out here doing this thing. He's buying a property. He's probably going to try to buy 1 or 2 a year. Very ambitious. We're going to try to buy a strategy where he doesn't have a lot of construction costs. Understanding the construction thing is another level in there as far as dealing with it. So we're trying to buy with minimum construction costs, things that's got good mechanicals, and we can go in there and do kitchens and baths as far as direct replacement, cabinets, vanities, countertops, pretty stuff that's going to increase the value for him, allow him to get it rented within 30 days total, and be able to see a huge return. So this property was, I think 155 or something like that.
Okay.
It was 155, and we'll see where we end up landing, but we're going to be probably around 125 on this property. 125, 130. We had to do some seller concessions they put in there, and we doing the cash for keys in there as well. So he's right around 130. We'll see where he lands after appraisal. But he will be renting that property. He'll have a payment of $1,300 a month. Let's say $1,200, taxes, insurance, everything, right? Yeah. About on that property. He's going to rent that property for $1,400 aside, maybe $1,550 aside. $1,400 to $1,550 aside, but on the low end, $1,400. So this young man now has got $2,800 a month of passive income coming in, but he's got to pay his mortgage of, let's say, $1,300. So he's going to have about $1,500 a month cash flow coming in. He's going to stay with his parents. Smart young man. He's going to stay with his mom, still his mom and dad, right next door, rent the 2-family next door, and then buy another one. So he's added $1,500 this year, right? We get through this project. Next year, he adds $1,500. His goal is just to buy 1 a year. So if he has $1,500 for the next 10 years to answer your question, he'll be then built himself a passive income of $15,000 a month.
Wow.
In 10 years.
And he's 29 years old.
And he'll be 29 years old. That's his plan. $15,000 a month. Lord forbid he do 2 a year.
Yeah.
Lord forbid he did 2.
That's the baseline.
That's just the base. You do one.
Yeah.
So if he can make that kind of money, and if you can make that kind of money, right, $1,500, most people bring home $3,000, $3,500 a month.
Right.
In 2 years, this man will have replaced his potentially a grown man parent's salary. Yeah. I don't know what his parents make. I don't know. I'm just saying, but he's replacing a whole salary.
A large segment of Americans, for sure. A
large segment. And in 3 houses at $4,500, he's in the top 10%. Of cash, people bring home cash. He'd be in the top 10%. Yeah.
And this is net cash flow. This is money in pocket. We ain't talking about gross. And it's got to go out.
This is net cash flow. This is after the repairs are done. This is after the bills are paid, the property manager's paid, the taxes are paid, the insurance are paid, the mortgage is paid, the lawn is kept. This man's going to get $15. He's going to get between $1,300 to $1,500 a month. And he's never going to sell. I'm advising him to never sell, buy again, and he's going to keep on repeating that process where he can get a 30-day job done in a 2-family flat, rent it for $1,400 a month, refinance it. He's going to be into this thing for $130, $140, $150. It's worth $265, $275. He'll be able to refinance it.
Put $20, $30 in his pocket.
Tax-free.
Tax-free.
right?
There's
He'd
no
be able to
income tax
no
on
income
loans.
tax on the loan, so he puts 20, 30 in his pocket, tax free. Now he get plus his initial investment back that he put down.
Yeah.
Now he's got all his money in his pocket, and he's on to the
getting
next deal,
$1,500 a
and
month.
$1,500 a month. You know, so we, you know, he's a very ambitious young man, but he's following some of the other investors who've been doing this for years now, and they've been benefiting in the city doing this for years. And we just gotta, you know, continue to do it ourselves and make sure that we keep educating people on that process.
And it's nothing magical. It's like
magical.
this is. You know, he didn't find a special deal. This happened to be the house next door to him, right? But this is not, you know, a needle in a haystack.
The house is
or
on the
anything.
MLS.
This is every day, all day. We can go out and find
All
10 of
day.
these every single
This is
day.
this is no needle in a haystack, no unicorn situation.
Yeah.
This is a typical situation. You can buy a 2-family flat in okay condition in Detroit for $150,000.
Yeah.
You can find for $150,000. Those will rent for $1,200 to $1,400 a side. This ain't rocket science.
That is not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I know I wouldn't be doing it if it was.
Yeah, exactly. Me either. You know, I definitely ain't gotta be ready for rocket science. So I think that definitely that process and that birth strategy is gold around here because of the rents versus the property value and the cost of entry. We're in the ARVs. It's made for this. There's no better place in the world to do this business.
And it was a time where Detroit, it was very hard to get appraisals or get mortgages in Detroit.
That's right.
Really because of the way the appraisals was killing values.
Correct.
That is no longer a barrier anymore.
Correct.
Now properties we looking at it like that. I didn't think it was going to appraise for that much because of the upgrades that we're doing and just the environment that we're in.
We bought a property, the property on Metatar we did. We bought it in 2023, finished it in 2024. February 2024, we sold it, bought it for 40, sold it for 255. That was 2024. Neighbor across the street saw us do that. He bought one and he's flipping one. I'm selling it for him. He got me listed in next week. He's putting the finishing touches on it. He's about to list it 319. Across the street from the one that was 255, which is the one that we bought for 40,000.
Yeah. See, that's what happens in these areas, man. It just runs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Rising tides raise all ships.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see investors in your neighborhood buying and fixing and selling, you need to do the same thing. Do what that
He
guy
bought it
did,
for 50.
right?
He bought it for 50. I could have bought it. I was messing around, didn't buy it in another deal, didn't buy it. And he said he ended up getting it and flipped it. And now he's going to get 319 out of it. And we're going to get it quick. It's beautiful. And we're going to get it quick.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So that's the thing as far as just, having the propensity to be able to take the risk and know when to take the risk and understand it, go through the process, understand it, and then just actually go do it.
Go do it.
Go do it.
Action. You know,
Action.
taking action. That's one of the there's plenty of people out here with ideals, right?
Yeah.
Got to take action.
That's it. The action is important.
So as we wrap up, Jonathan, what do you want to let the people know about the Detroit market, Systematic Realty? Tell them how they can get in touch with you.
You can get in touch with me, I'm old school still. You can give me a call, 734-773-8990. That's my cell phone. You can go to Jonathan Wheaton. I guess I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I got to get my social media more as far as my tags, all of that together. But you can find me. I'm easy to find. The thing I would say is that, if you're looking to invest in Detroit, a lot of times you see things that are very like dangling a carrot. It seems very good, and it is good to come here. Partner with the person. If it be myself, I got a ton of clients. Jabari does as well. Partner with a professional who has experience doing this. Investing in the city is not rocket science, but it is something that you need to have experience doing, and you need to be able to pick the right properties and go about it the right way. So I would just say, everybody, don't be scared to invest. Don't be scared to invest in your community. You see that ugly building, you see that ugly property, go knock on a door. Call Jabari, say, I want to buy this property. Call myself, say, I need to get in here. So we could actually start changing the community, and you can be profitable while you changing the eyesores and the dilapidation in your community. So that's what I would just want to say. I'm a community guy. Impact your community, buy something, and invest in your community.
Perfect. And I just want to close and say that I've never seen a time in real estate where the mortgage money was so available. it's so much money, so much capital available for the fix and flips, for the burst strategy, for the DSCR loans. It's just tons and tons of money. So the barriers of entry are very, very low. Don't let credit, don't let, like Jonathan said, your lack of knowledge. You got to really partner, build you a team, and actually take action and do this business. If nothing else, to get the tax money back that you're paying to the government, unless you like paying Uncle Sammy. Once again, this is Jabari Long with the Long Report. This is an episode regarding Volume 5 of our educational series, Why Invest in Detroit. Thanks for tuning in.